Welcome back to my channel. Thanks for joining me. I'm Tanya Ray, and today I'm doing a pick a card reading for the summer solstice. And if you're joining me from the last post, which was the collective reading for the summer solstice, you might be thinking, gee, that deck looks familiar. Yes, I am using the same deck, which isn't something that I typically do for 2 readings in a row, but for whatever reason, this deck is saying, hey, I am your summer solstice deck. So we're going to go with it. And with that said, I'm going to give my little spiel. So tune in or tune out. And what I want to say is, first of all, trust your intuition. Even if you're coming to this reading 2 months from now, 2 years from now, in winter solstice, whatever, it doesn't matter. If you feel drawn to this reading, there's probably a message in it. However, I will always tell people never make something fit that does not feel aligned to them. So if you feel particular resistance to something that I say in these readings, or it doesn't feel right, sometimes it helps to look at where you feel particularly resistant to any message, because sometimes that is a deeper message for you for clarity on something in your life. With that said, let's get started. We have 3 decks, 3 piles here, in case you didn't notice, and I would love to invite you to choose one of them for your message for the summer solstice. Take a deep breath in. Let it out and focus in on these 3 decks. The first one has a carnelian, the second has citrine, and the third has pyrite. However you are drawn to the pile, don't second guess it. Just pay attention. It's almost always going to be the first one that you're drawn to. All right, please pause if you need a little more time to tune in and pick your message. However, like I said, do not second guess what first comes in, because that's almost always going to be your intuition telling you something. And I always encourage people to pay attention to how that information comes in. Is it a knowing? Is it a feeling? Is it something that you saw, or something that you heard? Because that helps you to get used to using your own intuition and trusting it more by understanding your natural intuitive abilities. And yes, we all have them. All right, with that said, let's get into group 1 with the carnelian. Welcome back, group 1. This is your reading for the summer solstice. If you chose this pile with the beautiful carnelian, the stone of abundance and creation, amongst other things. And I just want to reiterate, if you're watching this at any other time but the summer solstice 2025, that is okay, because your intuition brought you here probably for a reason, and usually these messages are timeless. With that said, however, I will say that I have set the intention that I'll be able to provide you with some ritual or ceremony or actionable steps that you can utilize around the summer solstice energy. As you can probably already see, I have flipped over the first card, and it is Reclaim Your Power, 8 of Activations, and this is the 8 of Swords in a traditional deck. Honestly, I'm not just surprised at all to see this in the reading, because if you've received a private reading from me or watched my collective or pick a card readings recently, there's a good chance that you've heard me talk about this card. It is coming up everywhere, and I've actually done a collective reading on it that I will post at some point, because I had to ask, why does this keep coming up? There's obviously a collective message that perhaps I'm missing. So you can look forward to that if you want to look into the 8 of Swords energy in more depth than what I'm about to present in this reading. But with that said, in this reading, the reminder here is that if you felt a little drained or stuck lately, or maybe just asking for a little more clarity on something, but it doesn't seem to be coming in, it's time to look at the mind prisons you've created. I always tend to call the Eight of Swords, or, activations in this deck, the mind prison, because we entrap ourselves by our limiting beliefs, thoughts, and by handing our power away to others. Let's unpack this a little bit. So the card's theme is reclaiming your power. One of the main reasons that the power gets handed away, or that our power gets handed away, is by allowing other people's words, opinions, and beliefs to take hold of us. Here's an example that most of us can probably relate to. Social media. Social media posts are created with the intention to gain some sort of reaction and engagement. And because of that, a lot of people post things that are triggering. Sometimes they're not intentionally triggering, but they trigger us anyway. But there's also a lot out there with that intention. I know that personally, I have given my time and energy away by allowing myself to be affected by someone else's words or representation of the truth, instead of just shaking my head and moving on. Or looking at it a little bit deeper so that there was something to be gained from the experience, like, why am I being triggered here? My point is, sometimes the ways that we hand our power over to others seems a bit subtle, and so we don't even realize that that's what's happening. And then, of course, there are the instances where it's very clear that we are in victimhood, victim mentality, and handing that power away to others instead of taking responsibility for our own reactions and our own feelings. The other part of this card, as mentioned, is about your own thoughts and belief systems. The stories you tell about yourself and your situation. They feel real, but someone else might be able to look at things in a different light, which means that you could too. The tricky thing about the mind prison is that it feels very real. It feels like there is no way to move forward because you are stuck in your head. When really, it's about consciously choosing to look at things from a different angle. In a traditional deck, this card is depicted as somebody standing behind a quote-unquote prison or prison bars made of swords. They are blindfolded and bound, but not tightly. It's symbolic of choosing not to allow yourself to see. The blindfold could come off at any time, and now is that time to allow yourself to open your eyes. Try not to judge yourself over the belief systems, thoughts, feelings, and stories that come up, but instead focus on how you might be able to shift things to suit where you want to go or where you're going versus where you are right now if you are feeling stuck. So specifically for the solstice is saying the most loving thing you can do for yourself moving into this new season is take a good hard look at where you are spending your mental energy. Are you spending too much time listening to or worrying about other people's opinions? Are you indulging limiting belief systems that it's time to say goodbye to? Perhaps doing some sort of ceremony or practice can help with this. Look at an area of your life where you feel particularly stuck or things are stagnant, and journal about what you would like to see. After you've done that, take 5 to 10 minutes and allow yourself to write down any and every thought that comes up around this area of your life. You will likely have many that are limiting in some way, and when you're done, circle a couple of them that feel particularly heavy or challenging or pressing, and explore ways that you can shift that perspective by creating a new belief, one that you actually could believe, right? So sometimes that's about doing bridge steps or bridge beliefs, thoughts, where you bring it more to a neutral, like, I can't do something, maybe I can do something, so that you lead yourself eventually to, of course I can do that thing. Of course I'm living that reality. So reflect on some of those thoughts and look at how you could create a new belief. Another practical step to this could be looking at where you spend your mental energy and just taking an audit of that. Are you spending it perhaps too much on social media, or watching the news, or seeking other people's opinions, or just doing things that are really distracting and mentally draining? And where you're spending that time and energy, is it serving you? And just asking that question. All right, so let's move on to this next card. It's Mountain, the Paladin of Earth Guardians, otherwise known as the Knight of Pentacles. And this card is here to remind you that the energy you put into creating the belief systems that will serve you, and calling out areas of your life where you are handing your power away by comparing yourself or spending time in not so pleasant energy, will actually sprout and eventually provide plentiful fruit. So you will eventually witness and bask in the fruits of your labor, in other words. You will be rewarded for the actions you take. The Paladin is all about taking action and staying disciplined in their practice. So, like I said, this is normally the Knight of Pentacles, and the Knight of Pentacles is about building structures and systematically taking steps towards the goal. They know that they're setting a foundation and that their work is going to pay off, so they just keep going. They don't give up. What are you intentionally planting over this new season, and how can you continue to stay dedicated to the cause? That's the reflection for the second card. And that one's really important, right? Because we're talking about a whole season, and what are you intentionally bringing into this season, and what do you want to plant seeds in so they can grow? All right, we have geometric coherence, and this is the Three of Portacles. This is the Three of Portals, and this card is traditionally the Three of Cups. If you watched my collective Summer Solstice message, this one probably looks familiar because it definitely was in that reading. And celebration and connection to loved ones, specifically friends and chosen family, was a big theme of that reading, as well as it is right here with this card. Can you spend some time the weekend of the summer solstice, whether it's on Friday when it peaks or Saturday, Sunday, whatever, to celebrate your connections and have more fun? If your closest friends and family are actually into it, include them in on setting your intentions for the season. For each of you, you can share what you are intentionally growing and you can all put positive energy and intention to that intention. That was choppy, but you could all put positive energy to the intention. The more people that you have focused on an intention, that's more powerful. There's more energy focused on that to help it manifest. And even if you would like to keep your actual intentions private, if you all spend time focusing your energy toward each individual intention, that can still help to magnify it. Also, I'll never stop reminding people that having more joy and connecting to the things that bring out your playfulness will help you to see breakthroughs and create what you desire. So have more fun, celebrate, enjoy the people in your life. Make this a fun event. Even when there's some work to do, of course, because we all have that, still have the fun. And just to reiterate, here are the practices that the cards are suggesting for you over the summer solstice, sometime around there. Like I said, it doesn't have to be on Friday if you aren't able to get to it on the peak, but sometime this weekend or even a day or two before, this could be helpful. Take a good hard look at where you are focusing your energy. What do you want to intentionally create, and what roadblocks feel like they are in your way? More than 9 times out of 10, they are just thoughts and distractions that can be shifted. So a lot of the time we think that they're these big things, but they are just ways that we can distract ourselves from doing the deep inner work. Number 2 is, what steps can you take and commit to ensure that you're intentionally growing the fruit you desire this summer? So the things that you actually want to intentionally create. And then number 3, the fun one, celebrate. Do something fun, get silly and enjoy your people. Even include them in the intention setting if they are down for that, and invite them to do the same. So that's the cards, messages, and suggestions for those of you who chose group 1. I greatly appreciate you letting me read for you, and I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. I hope it's helpful. Let me know in the comments what resonates, what doesn't, and how you are going to celebrate the summer solstice. Hope to see you soon. Have an amazing day. Welcome back, group 2, with the beautiful, abundant citrine up there. I just want to reiterate that this is the summer solstice reading for 2025, but if you're tuning in at any other time, don't worry about it, because you are obviously drawn to this reading for a reason, and usually the messages, are timeless, but I am reading on how you can really utilize this summer solstice energy to your advantage. With that said, let's get started. We have the Gold of Earth, 6 of Light Codes, which is traditionally the 6 of Wands. And this is your sign that what you've been focusing on creating is about to come into fruition. Alternately, if you have felt like you've been climbing a mountain and it's been a particularly challenging hike, this is your sign that things are about to shift. Group 2s, you are so close to, if not already experiencing the shift, and you're overcoming your obstacles. What's more is that whatever the journey you've been on, this hasn't been for nothing. It never really is, but in this case, you're likely to be recognized for your growth, your voice, and the wisdom that you occurred in this journey. And this is a direct result of actually seeing yourself. So if you're not there yet, you are going to be seeing yourself. So don't be afraid to share your perspective with the world and share what you've learned. Share your story is what I'm saying. Over the summer solstice time, taking some time to reflect on what you've been growing through, as well as what you've learned, can be super beneficial. Also, visioning where you want to go and allowing yourself to live as if you've already accomplished it. For those who want success on social media, or for drawing in the perfect audience or clientele, this is a good sign that that's coming in and that it will be blooming over this summer season. All right, we have the waterfall next. This is the priestess of Earth guardians. And traditionally, this would be the King of Pentacles. In this particular deck, there is a bit more of the feminine energy. So this card is about intentionally creating balance in your life, especially around your creations and your public image. I'm sensing a theme in this reading. I wouldn't be surprised if many of you chose this reading, this group, because you have big goals of being recognized for either your words and knowledge or your art and creative pursuits. This card is the reminder that taking action is important, but forcing things or not forcing things is equally as important, especially where creativity is in question. The flow of creativity is blocked when you are trying to over control or push too hard. So take aligned action. What feels right to you in the moment. And keep in mind that while there is a need for downtime, this card isn't giving you a pass to avoid taking action. The priestess says it's time to look at balance or where there might be an imbalance if you're not seeing the results that you seek. Where are you swimming upstream when you could be flowing with the natural current? In other words, ease up on the control and taking action until you have clarity on where spending your energy makes the most sense. Or where are you simply floating along without any destination in mind? The message here is that this is the time to get clearer on what you're trying to create and pay attention to where you're in resistance or avoidance. Build a strong but flexible plan and keep going. You're way closer than you think to building the life of your dreams. So good news for group 2. I suggest doing something creative over the summer solstice, even if what your goal is something very practical. Allowing for that creative energy to flow can open you up and clarity can come through on how to create success for yourself. Again, this is giving it's time to be seen. It's your time to shine, baby, and also to be heard. This could just be a me thing, but a lot of the times there are no coincidences. And if this reading has felt a little bit choppy, it's because I've had to pause several times because my throat chakra is feeling a little bit blocked and dry for some reason. Like I can't verbalize or I have to cough. So this is really a sign for group 2s that it's time to speak your truth, to speak in authenticity, and to allow yourself to express in whatever way you need to what needs to be expressed. And this really is tied to your creative pursuits as well as whatever your main goal or goals are currently. And I don't know if you can hear that, but just saying that, my throat, it's still a little wonky, but it's starting to clear. That I had to pause to cough, but I just had to throw that out there because, like I said, there are not usually coincidences when that happens because I am an energy reader. All right, the last card is celebrate good times. Come on. Okay, please don't sue me for that horrible non-singing. But if that song is now in your head too, you're welcome. Because as soon as I flipped that card, that's what popped in. This is traditionally the Four of Wands. And if you've come from the collective reading, this dude probably looks familiar, and that's because it is. Celebration and connection was a very important and huge theme for the collective over the solstice, and it's a big energy specifically for group 2s as well. Celebrate yourself and your loved ones over this time. Align yourself with the energy of love and happiness. It's and connection too. I guess when I think connection, like a deep connection, the first place I go is like love and compassion. It seems that those of you who chose this message have been on quite a journey lately, and I'm guessing that many of you are feeling like you're on the precipice of something amazing happening in your life. It's time to celebrate, and it's not premature. I think a lot of the time we think it is because we haven't met the final milestone, but the truth is that usually we're just pushing the marker back further and further and further and challenging ourselves. And it's really important that we celebrate even what we consider the small milestones. But celebrating how far you've come and what you've learned can be really powerful. And I would even recommend looking at the last year, meaning last summer solstice around that time to this summer, and how much have you grown? What have you learned? And celebrate that, share the joy with those that are closest to you. As mentioned in the collective reading, this is giving like that bonfire, dancing on the beach and celebrating life with your favorite people energy. Of course, it doesn't have to look just like that. And if you live in a fire ban area, please don't utilize fire. But there are 2 wand cards represented in this reading. So the element feels really strong because wands are fire. The element feels really strong for the summer solstice for group 2. And if you can't interact with fire in any way, that's okay. Like, there's always candles and stuff like that. But if you can't or you just don't want to, think about what the element stands for. Fire can represent passion and also fierceness. It does not go unnoticed. It's bold and powerful. It represents your inner passion, desire, the fire that burns within you and that wants to be seen. It's time for it to be seen. To reiterate the practical applications of the summer solstice for group 2, here you go. Reflect on where you've been, where you currently are, and where you want to go. I suggest that you journal or make a vision board about what you've learned and, like I said, where you want to go, what you want the future to look like. Remember that the cards are indicating that you are almost there. You're a lot closer than probably a lot of you might think. And you might already be experiencing some of an uptick in recognition or success, but try not to second guess that because it really is happening. And if you embrace this journey and do the things, it's happening. That's what the energy feels like for group 2. So the second thing is anchor into your creative energy. Again, vision boards or writing out exactly what the future version of you looks like could be the creative project, but you can also create arts and crafts to help you get those creative juices flowing. Again, it doesn't have to be based around the future if you don't want it to be, and that sort of thing. It can be any kind of art and craft project. Also, look at where you are giving too much energy to forcing things to happen and not putting enough focus toward actively creating what you want, which sometimes, just as a friendly reminder, requires stillness and just allowing for things to take hold as they need to. So there needs to be a balance there. And then the third one is celebrate where you've been and where you are going. But most importantly, connect with the people who mean the most to you and celebrate those connections. Cherish them and make memories over this summer solstice. I hope this message blesses you, Group 2. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little jelly that I didn't pick this reading for myself, but I'm super excited for those of you who did, and I'm super excited to hear what your takeaways are in the comments, and please let me know what you plan to do for the summer solstice. Have an amazing day. I appreciate you, and I hope to see you soon. Welcome back, Group 3. This is your reading if you chose that gorgeous, abundant crystal up there, the pyrite. And I find it kind of funny that I pulled 3 crystals for this reading that all can help us to bring in more abundance in our life. I'm sure that that wasn't by accident, as I want people to be able to experience success and especially financial growth or whatever it is that they want to acquire in this life. And I feel like summer solstice is the perfect time to do that. But honestly, I think I pulled them because they remind me of the sun. So with that little spiel out of the way, this is your reading, like I said, for Group 3s, and the wind is picking up, so I apologize if you can hear that in the background. The first card, as you can see, I've already flipped over, and it is Shadow Clearing, the Catalyst. And this has got to be probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite, depiction of what would be the devil in a traditional tarot. The devil in traditional tarot often represents looking at your shadow aspects. In other words, what pieces of yourself, your behaviors, your beliefs and thoughts are you refusing to allow yourself to see fully? It feels scary to look at all of those things, but avoiding them does not make them go away. The summer solstice is a time for deep healing. For those of you who chose Group 3, allow yourself time to take a deeper look at the things that are trying to be seen, but you are in avoidance of facing. This could be things like over drinking, overeating, or just eating to distract, overspending, overthinking, or spending too much time and energy on other things that serve as a distraction from truly feeling your feels. So anything that's distracting you from feeling. Are there any areas of your life that you're seeking instant gratification or validation to avoid the actual feels, or looking at the areas of your life that are uncomfortable for you to see? The truth is, we all have those areas, and most of the time it's because we're trying to numb ourselves out, to avoid feeling shame and guilt or any other lower vibrational emotion that doesn't feel comfortable in the moment. So in other words, we all have shadow aspects, places in our life or pieces of ourselves that we don't want to see. And so at some level, we're in avoidance. It's okay to allow yourself to feel and to see, because when you do, the catalyst ignites change. The ignition helps you to burn through the walls of bullshit and see the truth and be able to step through that fire anew. So there's this rebirth energy happening. over the summer solstice if you choose it. The summer solstice invites you to dig a little bit deeper. Where are you giving your power away to outdated belief systems, addictions, and attachment? Let me be clear here. Allowing for the awareness and reflection can be the true catalyst of change, the true you stepping into the new version of yourself. This is your opportunity to leave all of that junk in the past and step into the future, but first you must allow yourself to see it for what it is. Journaling all of this out or writing a letter to the areas of your life you are illuminating by allowing yourself to see that are holding you back, and burning it might actually help with that energetic shift as well. Only if that resonates for you. But fire can be powerful for that. All right, so I love this pairing. The next card, right after the shadow clearing, the catalyst, is the courageous alignment. And that's the 7 of light codes. And the 7 of light codes in a traditional tarot would be the 7 of wands. The message here is very clear for group 3. When you step out of the confines of the self-imposed prison, in other words, whatever the catalyst card is referring to in your life, it's time to stand in your power. Be more mindful of where you're trying to overprotect your stance, because that actually disempowers you. Your views, energy, and power are yours, and you don't have to convince other people of them to make them valid. In case I'm not being clear, the summer solstice has a clear message of reclaiming your power and standing in the confidence of it. Stand in your truth, but first you have to allow yourself to see it. Remember that you do not have to prove yourself to anyone, but you also don't have to hold back from speaking your authentic views. Just remember that everyone is on their own journey, and it can be particularly freeing to understand that two perspectives can exist at once without being wrong and without one being wrong and the other one being right. If there was an action step for this particular card, it would be, it's time to reflect on what it is that you truly believe. What does it look like when you stand in your power? When you shine your true light, what does that really look like? Because remember, with the catalyst, you're burning away all of that illusion and the things that you're keeping bottled up or using distraction in your life not to deal with, and stepping into your power. So it's going to be important to actually visualize what that actually looks like. All right. Let's see what the third card is for group number 3. And this is like the perfect set of cards, quite honestly. Sovereign cohesion, the Emperor. So we're talking about realizing and standing in your power. And then we've got the Emperor himself. So the summer solstice invites you to step into your Emperor energy. The Emperor is a ruler, and it's time to be the ruler of your own life. Don't let distractions, attachments, and other people's opinions stand in your way of letting you see yourself clearly and stand in that truth. Lead from this space. My friendly reminder that doesn't mean everyone has to follow you. Just because you're leading doesn't mean that it's discredited when not everyone's following. By standing in your power and sharing your experience and knowledge that you've gained through your life experience, you can help inspire others to do the same. Not only will you encourage others to step into their truth, but you will attract those who want to connect with you. Those of you who are business owners or content creators or service providers, something like that, will likely be attracting soul-aligned clients because they will start feeling your energy and connect with your message because it's authentically you. So they're going to start recognizing that, is what I'm saying. So those of you who are like, hey, I'm already getting a lot of recognition, just be aware that when you fully connect to your personal power, it's going to be even more on fire, more wealth coming in, more opportunities, and just feeling nicer, because when we are connected to that deep inner knowing and we live aligned to that, life is good whether you're trying to make money and attract clients or not. And like I said, this is a good sign that the hard inner work that you're doing is about to pay off in not only knowledge and self-awareness, but in monetary gains. I just want to be clear on that because the Emperor does have everything that he could ever want or imagine, and it's because of his influence, his intellect, and obviously other things, but that's not relevant to this story, to this message. So monetary gains, I am feeling like the money aspect is growing in some way for group 3s over the summer season. Make sure that you set boundaries around who and what you are going to allow in your energy, though, and clearly speak those intentions, because the Emperor is very structured and very good about setting the boundaries that are needed for success and for, mental health, even being able to lead in a confident way from his own energy. Over the summer solstice, another thing to reflect on is, what would you like to do with your influence? Again, Emperor is an influential person, and this whole reading has been sort of about that, or about the fact that when you let your energy really be seen, it naturally is going to influence people. So reflect on, what would you like to do with your influence? What messages do you want to share with the world, and what is your goal for this summer specifically? What do you intentionally want to grow? And what structures need to be put into place in order to ensure that growth? So I'll just recap really quick for group 3s. What you may want to integrate into your practice or celebration for the summer solstice. Number 1, reflect in a journal on the areas of your life you're in avoidance and or engaging in behaviors to numb, so that you don't have to face the emotions of it. So where are you engaging in avoidance or behaviors that numb? And then number 2 is reclaim your power and reflect on what it truly looks like to stand in your authenticity. And finally, number 3, envision what being the leader of your life actually looks like. What do you want to grow in the summer season, and what is your plan of action to create that? All right, I'm super excited for group 3. I hope this blesses you. Remember to respond to yourself with love and compassion, especially if you're doing some shadow work or, looking at things a little bit deeper, because it can be hard, or it can feel hard to process and face those emotions, but allowing yourself to process them is going to pay off in the long run, because they don't go anywhere just because we don't allow them to be at the surface. So with that said, let me know what your takeaways are for this summer solstice reading. How are you going to celebrate summer solstice? And I hope you have an amazing day, an amazing season, and I will see you soon.